most important person is here, Megan, to help us as she usually does. We'll call this meeting to order. All right, the first thing that we're going to look at, of course, is the approval of our minutes. And we need a motion on that. Motion by Betty, second by Marcia. We're going to take both of these at the same time, if that's all right. The special meeting that we had at our regular board meeting. And welcome back, Paul. And I visited with your wife today at lunch, and everything seems to be all right. So look at the amendments and see if you have any corrections or any changes that you would like to see. If not, we'll call for a voice vote since we are operating under the dinosaur rules, and we need to vote either aye or nay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those nay. Ayes have it. We want to do something here that we know is very important, because we'd love to see our employees continue to be with us. We have a very experienced group, and I would like to have Brian Johnson from the health department, if he would step up here for just a moment. Brian.
Coach, he might not like to speak, but I do. So, Brian, you are a fantastic person. You take your work seriously. Like, we are very, very lucky to have you at the health department. The entire team, Calvin, everybody you have, from Sean at the jail to you running that. Like, this is probably, and Calvin down here and all of his group. I mean, we have a fantastic crew going on right now. And so, I know it's been 15 years here, but I just want to say from this board member, I appreciate everything you've done.
All right, moving on, we'll take the next Brian Johnson from the sanitary district, the shorter of the two Brian Johnsons.
I'm not going to say anything about that, but good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'll echo that. The county is extraordinarily well run, and you guys should be all proud of that. I see it as a kind of an ancillary entity in this community. I just take a few minutes and echo that, because it's really great working with everybody. In your packet, you have the February meeting minutes from GPSD. Seems like forever ago that we did these, but just want to highlight one thing: the digester boiler replacement project. These are a handful of boilers that are well past their useful life that were just awarded for replacement. So we're excited to get that project going. But other than that, there's always a ton going on at the district and in the community. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Brian? Any comments? Thank you, Brian. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we have Heather, who also works with Brian. She's one of our trustees down there.
Thank you. I just have to say Brian and his team do an excellent job also. So in your packet, you have the fiscal 26 capital projects progress and funding sources through March 17th. Just one item that I'd like to point out is we did get the final invoice. It's in process to be paid for the HHS building. And so next month that should move to the completed section. And I can do a summary sheet of the total project cost and funding sources if this committee would like for next month. But happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Thank you, Heather.
Thanks.
Okay. Who we got for this next one?
That's going to be Melissa, Mr. Chairman. Melissa.
I didn't see her. Oh, okay, Melissa. I missed you. I didn't find you.
Good afternoon, everybody. In your packets for this meeting, there's the first quarter progress report on your strategic plan. This is the first time you're seeing this document for the 2026 actions, and it pivots a little bit from the table formatting that you saw with your previous actions from the 2023 strategic plan. This is more of a narrative format due to make the document more accessible is why we turn to a more narrative format instead of the table. And it's not supposed to detail the project in full, but it's supposed to give you a quick look at things that have been accomplished and things that are upcoming. So it won't detail in one progress report everything that's going to happen for that project, but it's just meant to bring you all along. You all being the infrastructure committee, there's 4 or 5 updates on actions that relate to you. And, you know, this is sort of a living, breathing update. You have this in front of you, and then Assistant Administrator Smith will be here today to talk about a few agenda items related to the jail master plan and other projects. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Melissa? Question, Paul?
No, I don't have a question, just a statement that I like this. It gives you a synopsis, short and concise, and will be a lot easier to understand it. So thank you very much for it.
You're very welcome, and I can't take credit for it fully. We have a whole team with eyes on this and providing feedback, so I'm happy you like this format.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Melissa. Okay, moving into our resolutions. We have six resolutions today, and that's not unlike this committee. And last month we had 9, I think, and then we had 2 at a special board meeting. So, Jeff, we need a motion to this first one, which has to do with the traffic signal lights, and motion by Marcia, and seconded by Terry.
This is a resolution to enter into a preliminary engineering agreement with Hanson Professional Services for traffic signal upgrades along the airport road corridor. The amount of the agreement is $182,458. The city of Peoria maintains our signals for us, and they reached out to me last fall and said the controllers are showing some age. We have a couple that have battery backup systems that if the power goes off, the signals would continue to work. The components inside the controller on most of the battery backup systems have failed. So if we lose power right now, the signals aren't going to work. We'd have to go put stop signs up. The first set of signals was built in 1998. That was on Smithville Road, the 2 legs of Smithville Road. The second set was built in 2003 at Garfield, and then in 2007, the set at Pfeiffer was built. So they range in age from 19 to 28 years old. It's just time to upgrade them. And while we are doing the upgrades to the signals, we're also going to add a flashing left arrow at Garfield. Currently, it just has the green ball for left turn yields. We'll add the flashing yellow. We're also going to improve the ADA sidewalk ramps at each intersection to make sure they are compliant with ADA requirements. And then we'll add audio visual pedestrian crossing buttons. So when you push a button, it'll talk to you and signal when to cross. So to be in ADA compliance when we do that work.
Questions for Jeff? Go ahead, Jimmy.
So kind of a curveball question here. I know I asked you about the costs and everything else, but like if you look at just some of those, probably not enough land mass, but like do we ever have discussions about like is it cheaper to put in a roundabout in some of these and not have lights versus, or is there a school safety issue? Or I mean, I don't know if we would have the land to do that, but we have the cost of lights, not a ton of lights in the county. Is it, and we do have other roundabouts. Have we ever had that thought process of a roundabout?
Well, we built the roundabout down in Old Galena and State Street, where State Street has to get closed a lot, and that was one of the reasons we did a roundabout. Also, because the state was always talking about extending Route 6 to Cedar Hills Drive. We said, the way we were going to do a T intersection there, you'd be stopping for nothing at certain points. So that's why we put the roundabout there. I think that's our really prevalent one for us. Those are expensive to build. That's complete utter reconstruction of the intersection. That's new storm sewer. That is very substantial lighting for pedestrians. You have to have street lighting. You have to have special pedestrian crossings. So in this instance, it would not be less money. It'd be significantly much more money. And we got to remember too, this is a lot of money, but we're talking 4 intersections. And we all know how expensive electronics are. Especially electronics that sit out there day in and day out, ice, snow, heat, all the weather conditions. So,
Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember when there were all stop signs back when I was in high school, which just seemed like yesterday, which was almost 50 years ago. Okay, you said some are 19 to 20 some years old. What's the average lifespan do you guys figure for lights?
honestly, these were all done when I was still I built this at intersection, so I was not into how long life expectancy we had on these. It just kind of depends on the components, actually. So I would expect to see at least another 25 years out of these easily. So, I mean, the foundations are in good shape, except for the controller foundation at Garfield. The poles are in good shape. The mast arms are in good shape. So the signals had been retrograded to LED some years ago. So they're in good shape. They'll easily last another 25 years.
Without thinking about it, I didn't even put a lifespan on it. Yeah. And bringing this up like that, so that they've been there for so long, and it just seems to go pretty fast. So
it does go very fast. Both my children were born when I was working at an airport. Ages for me. So.
Any other questions? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to our third resolution, one of our favorites. It's an annual one. Need a motion to deal with this? Motion by Betty, second by Matt. I thought it was on a third. I thought it was on Puats. Am I correct? Oh, did I skip the one on the railroad crossing? Okay, thank you. That's why you're here. I'm sorry, we'll go back to that one. Aired by the chairman, which isn't unusual. This has to do with a railroad crossing in Glassford, so we need a motion again on that. Take a motion by Marcia, seconded by Terry.
We are in the midst of the phase one engineering for Glassford Road, and about 3 blocks south of the Main Street intersection, there's a railroad crossing for the Keokuk Junction Railroad. As part of our design, we have to reach out to the railroad and show them how our road construction, our road plans are going to affect the railroad. And in this instance, when we do finally get funding for this road, we're going to add pedestrian accommodations. So we're going to have to design pedestrian accommodations across the railroad in addition to the regular traffic. So in their packets, I think it's the last sheet of the packet, there's a very rough drawing that shows the crossing and how that will go across the railroad itself. But Keokuk Junction Railroad, like all railroads, won't do anything for free, so they won't just look at our plans and say, yeah, it looks good. They expect to be paid to do that. We did a similar agreement with Union Pacific for the Maxwell project. That was $25,000. This is a $15,000 deposit, and then every time they do work for this, they'll just take it out of it. And when we're done at the end of the job, they'll reimburse us or they'll put it towards the construction phase, because we will have to do something like this whenever we get to construction.
Now, I should ask this question first. Resolution. Hanson was doing that work. Do we have Hanson involved in this at all?
Hanson is doing this project also, yes.
They are. Okay. I thought I read that somewhere, but I wasn't sure.
Yep.
I thought maybe the railroad company, Keokuk, was bringing in their own engineering and so forth.
They will look. I don't know if they have on-staff engineers or if they have a consultant that does this for them. Union Pacific had a consultant that did it, so, but the agreement is with Keokuk, and then they'll have whoever do that for them. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions for Jeff? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Ayes have it. Moving on to the resolution that I jumped to, PUATS, which is our annual fee in regard to this. Motion by Danny, seconded by Paul.
This is our annual agreement that we do every year with PUATS. The fee is generated from how much planning money is coming in, and then they prorate it to how much motor fuel tax money each agency gets, and you can find that in the packet there. This year our share is $55,051.41. Mr. Salzer likes to point out all the great projects we've gotten over the years for this. So the most recent project is Glen Avenue. We have $1.2 million for Glen Avenue from this agreement. Other projects in the past have been Old Gleaner Road, Northmore Road, Forest Hill, Airport Road. There's been a lot of different projects we've funded with money, federal money we've gotten through PUAT. So $55,000 is a very good investment.
Get a good bargain out of this, people. Any questions on this? No questions? Moving on to our next resolution. Pardon me, I got to vote on this, don't I? Thank you. On the PUATS, I just figured it was going to be unanimous. And all those in favor of adopting the agreement in regard to PUATS signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Now we'll jump on to our silk coating bid, and need a motion on this. Motion by Dylan, second by Betty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our annual township motor fuel tax seal coating bids. We went out for bids on March 5th, and we had 2 bidders. We had R.A. Cullinan out of Tremont and Hare Blacktop out of Trevoli. The following townships had R.A. Cullinan as their low bid. That would be Akron, Chillicothe, Jubilee, Logan, Princeville, and Radnor. for a total of $1,410,323.66. And the other following townships had Hair Blacktop as their low bid: Brimfield, Elmwood, Kickapoo, Rosefield, Timber, Tivoli, with a total of $577,587.80. Hallett Township rejected their low bid from Hair Blacktop since it was over the estimate, and we are additionally recommending an appropriation from the Township Motor Fuel Tax Fund for $300,000 out of the fund balance to cover the costs that were not budgeted. When we budget in June the year before, we don't always know what the townships want to spend, so we are requesting additional appropriation from the fund balance. That still keeps us within county board policy, and happy to answer any questions on this.
Questions for Amy? All right. All those in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And let's see. We're up to number 5, I think. Yeah, number 5 here. Has to do with a capital fund project, and we need to get this on the agenda for us so we can pass it. Motion by Terry, seconded by Marcia, and thank Kyle Smith. He is going to tell us about these vestibules and so forth.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. So the first item we have before you all here today is a proposal from Dewberry Architects. And what this is for them to complete essentially the architecture and engineering work related to refurbishment of both of the storefronts here on the older portion of the courthouse. So specifically the storefront here on the south side, which exits out into the Soldiers and Sailors Monument area. It's right below the Lincoln portrait that hangs on the end of the building. That has been, right now, that is an exit only. That will remain an exit only for the foreseeable future. That it switched to an exit only after the Oklahoma City bombing that happened several years ago. And then the other storefront is here, and it's basically our front door to Main Street, over here on the Main Street side of the building, which again, as I understand, that entry and exit has been closed since the COVID pandemic. It's, of course, continues to be closed right now because of the ongoing plaza construction out there in the Lincoln area. Once the plaza construction is done, that'll probably be about the time we're ready to begin working on the storefront. So I know, much to the sheriff's chagrin, that entry and exit is going to have to stay closed a bit longer. But again, each one, and again, that will be entry and exit. So the sheriff and his folks, they have staffing plans in place that they're going to need to staff that entry and exit full time. Initially, so this is in the capital plan right now for $2 million. Initially, we had our contracted construction management firm for everything at the courthouse, who is Core Construction. We got with them. We took a comprehensive look at both of the vestibules, and they determined, and I have included a statement from them within the packet, that this really was going to go beyond what they were comfortable with from a design build standpoint. It's starting to touch enough of the other trades just beyond construction. So we're getting into HVAC issues, there's electrical issues, there's going to be security, there's going to be a lot of other disciplines involved, especially in the Main Street vestibule here. So with that in mind, We reached out to Dewberry, who, as you all know, has a very long-standing relationship with the county as it relates to work here in the courthouse. They actually are the architect of record for the newer portion of the courthouse. And what I have before you today here is a proposal from Dewberry in the amount of $206,500 to complete all of the architecture and engineering work for the vestibules.
Questions for Kyle? No questions? All those in favor of the adoption of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye.
Coach,
Yes.
I do have a question. So,
Okay.
Kyle, what is the estimated time for them to complete the documents? Like, and
Yeah,
I
so-
ask that for, I know that we have you and Melissa and Dewberry's timelines have not always coincided as planned.
Yeah. Short answer, ideally as soon as possible. A more thorough answer would be obviously if you all approve it today here, it would go to the board on April 9th. But for your final approval, they would be set to begin right away. So they have assured me they do have the staffing, they have the resources to get on this right away. So I would expect that they would be able to get to a bid set of documents relatively quickly on these, 60 to 90 days, something like that. We'll work with Core then to get all of the various subcontractor packages put out to bid. Would hope to get those back, month, 6 weeks, that timeline. I mean, ideally, we want to be under construction sometime in the fall and be far enough along to where we have the building substantially closed up or blocked off before the weather gets too bad.
Thank you.
To finish the vote, all those opposed signify by saying nay. Ayes have it, and we'll move on to our final one. And Kyle will be doing that for us as soon as we put this on the, yes, motion by Paul, seconded by Danny.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is similar to our first resolution. This is also this is a resolution for architecture and engineering services. This is a bit different because the jail does not have essentially an architect of record like we have our longstanding relationship with Dewberry here at the courthouse. And this is a rather specialized project at the jail. Staff felt it best to put this out for a request for qualifications. And again, this is per the jail master plan, which Melissa touched on a bit earlier. This is really what we're considering phase one out of the jail. And it's the replacement of the existing kitchen by building a new freestanding kitchen and then making certain modifications to the existing kitchen to turn that into a new laundry area. So again, this is really what we're considering phase one in the larger jail master plan. Not to be confused with the existing kitchen refresh, which will actually begin construction on Monday, April 13th. And that project is essentially the replacement of a few pieces of equipment in the existing kitchen, really just to get the kitchen staff by until this new freestanding kitchen would be completed at some time later on. And so we put out a request for qualifications. We received 7 proposals back that we felt had met the minimum criteria, the minimum threshold to be reviewed. From that list of 7 through a scoring process, a group which included myself, the sheriff, and Melissa, the director of special projects. We winnowed that down to 3, and then we brought those 3 groups into the jail, and we had the sheriff's office, rather, we didn't bring them into the jail, brought them out to the sheriff's office, and we had a rigorous interview process with them. And what is before you here this afternoon is a recommendation to move forward with Wold Architects and Engineers. They're an Illinois-based company. They're based out of Palatine, which is in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. As part of this proposal, they have partnered with several local firms, in particular KED, who would be handling all of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing work. And then they have also partnered with Moore & Kerr, which has recently been acquired by TWM. That local firm would handle any of the other outstanding engineering work. And so Wold will be acting as the primary for the architecture work. I think, and the sheriff's here again, if you would have any questions, Melissa's here as well, but I think all three of us, it was a unanimous recommendation. We were all impressed by Wold's presentation. They've had a lot of experience with very similar projects. And so what's before you today is to approve Wold and also give the county administrator then the authority to go ahead and negotiate on the county's behalf and enter and get pricing from Wold and enter into agreement with them, of course, after the state's attorney's office would sign off on it as well. This is for phase 1 of the jail. We were intentional about how we wrote the request for qualifications, and basically we would reserve the right based on how this first phase goes as to whether we would want to continue our relationship or not with Wold Architects and Engineers as we transition into phase 2 and phase 3. Just to remind everyone, phase 2 is going to be the larger project throughout the jail that will be we'll be addressing some of the deficiencies with the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing utilities in the jail, of which there are many deficiencies. And then phase 3 would be addressing the sheriff's needs for some additional mental health resources there at the jail. And so, but again, this is for phase 1 today with Wold Architects and Engineers.
Jimmy?
So I know since we haven't selected them yet, and that will be negotiated after the fact. Just stress, and you've stressed it in there, and you capped. We have budgeted $3.5 million for all phases. Do we have any thought process or idea for what this phase should cost of that $3.5 million? I mean, if we were looking at a 10 to 12, like this is going to be $1 million of engineering for this first phase.
I would typically expect in the range of 6.5% to 7%, and I think we will continue to narrow those numbers on what the kitchen itself may cost. We've gotten some additional guidance from the sheriff as to the standard to which he would like the jail built. So I do think we have a relative ballpark of where the county administrator would negotiate to. But yes, we are clear. It is $3.5 million in the capital plan, and that's for the A&E for all 3 phases.
Any more questions? All right, on this resolution? Go ahead. Sorry, Terry.
I'd like to just expand on Jimmy's question a little bit further, knowing that this temporary kitchen is going to involve what I refer to as invisible money, because longer term, when we build the kitchen addition, this will be all torn out, and maybe we salvage some equipment out of it. That's the easy part. But this engineering cost will be essentially vaporized as soon as we tear it out of there. So I would encourage staff in the process of negotiating that we go to a absolute bare bones, only what's needed to make code, to make health department requirements, what we absolutely have to do to get a temporary kitchen that will operate in the short term until we can build the addition. So I don't think I can emphasize enough. And you've seen on display today the incredible amount of money that it takes for architects and engineers across this whole package. It's a tremendous amount of money. And that number has been growing steadily year after year after year as these engineering companies consolidate. Used to be 30 or 40 engineering companies locally owned in Peoria. Every day we hear of one getting bought up by another, and they get bigger and bigger, and they begin to be able to name their own price. So I think for a project like this especially, we need to be very sensitive to the cost. It's not a question, it's just a statement. So, thanks.
Anyone else with questions? I will vote on the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Ayes have it. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Need a motion to go into executive session? Do I have to tell what it's about? About the purchase of land, and actually it has to do with the sale of land. Got a motion from Paul on that, second by Betty. They're getting them out. What do we do? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Yeah. Everybody gone? We're safe. I got to get rid of my mic.
Scott? All your attention. Bring it yourself. Edge.
No public comment. Miscellaneous. All I know is somebody told me that Matt Windish is going to have an event that he's going to be very happy that coming up. And so, Matt, congratulations to you. I just learned about it. That's great. Any more miscellaneous? Any more miscellaneous? Okay, Marcia.
I just have a request that moving forward, if the engineers could give us some information how Jimmy had asked about the roundabout versus the traditional stoplight intersections, could we get just some very basic comparison numbers on the cost of the two things? Even if it's just like a hypothetical, I don't really mean it to be one specific intersection, but just moving forward, just so we have some idea what the cost difference is. And over a time span too, because I feel like with Jimmy commenting on that, the roundabouts, they don't have the signals, they don't have the electricity, but obviously there's things that, to be taken into consideration as well that, the average person like me isn't aware of. So I just wanted to know if that would be possible to get something brief on that.
Scott, would that be under Amy?
Yeah, we'll work with the highway department to make sure that we can talk better about that next time it comes up.
Thank you, Marcia. Anybody else under miscellaneous? Meeting is adjourned.